Just had to change my slides a bit. Sorry. This is a really big stage. Hi, my name is Gitte. Whoa. This is me on Twitter. Warning, if you follow me, I tweet a lot. I'm an agile coach, and you all know that's what we do. We run around and hug trees. I must say that I'm on the more soft side of agile coaching. I used to think that processes was the most important thing, and then I realized, no, it's more about values, and basically all I work with now is humans. Figuring out how to help them talk to each other, listen to each other, work together, and figure out how to have an emotional well-being at work as well. I'm also a speaker. I speak at about 10 conferences a year. Since 2 years ago, I'm a professional speaker since I got paid once. I'm also a hugger. I offer free hugs at conferences. I do this because we don't look at each other enough. We pass each other on the street, but we don't see each other. That's also why I offer non-physical hugs. Because basically what I offer with a hug is I offer you my full attention. And we don't do this nearly enough. We are so busy in our own lives, we are so busy going to that next place, that next thing we need to do, that we forget to look at the people around us. I have this tattoo about being brave, because up until 2011, I tried to be what I was supposed to be. I tried to fit in. I tried to do all these things that you're supposed to do until I realized, hey, it's okay to be me. It's okay to like geeky stuff, even if you are an adult. It's okay to believe in making the world a better place. And if somebody calls you hippie, that's okay. So I got this tattoo to remind me every day to be who I am and not who everyone else wants me to be. I'm an ant, very much so. I don't have any kids of my own, but I must have at least 20 around who calls me ant. I'm the cool ant because I'm a pirate, and because I still like to play. And that's something I discovered later, and that's actually one of the things that helped me or prevent me from getting stressed again, sometimes. And I'm a member of something called inclusive collaboration. So what we try to do is to make better working places for everyone. So most of the workspaces we have work really, really well with people who are extrovert. Most of the people I meet in the industry are introverts. We have a lot of people on the autistic spectrum. In a normal population, 1 in 69 has autism, somewhere on the spectrum. In IT and other tech, it's higher. If the mother is in IT or tech, it's even higher. And what we try to do is to see, can we get workplaces where we can actually include everyone? Not just to be nice, which is of course part of it, but because we need that diversity, we need to include everyone, also people who have different brains. For instance, a conference like this is really, really loud. And if you're an introvert, that can be really hard. And that's also something that stresses us, when we get all these impulses that we don't know how to react to. So one of the things we succeeded in so far is 6 conferences who now have quiet rooms, where you cannot interact with the other people in the room. And you cannot use your phone or anything. You can just go in there and not get any input. So I'm here to talk about stress, and I'm going to talk about depression as well, because one of the things that stress does is it can activate stuff like depression, anxiety, bipolar diseases. And of course, some of these are regular diseases, which means that it's there all the time, but stress can go in and activate them. And research shows that one of the most common one is depression. So I had a burnout twice, and I'm still not clever enough to always take care of myself. And that's one of the reasons I speak about this, because it is so difficult. It is so difficult, even though you know what's going to happen. It's so difficult to react to this. The problem is, it is so different. Some people can work 400 hours a week and not be stressed. Some people can work for 10 hours a week and get stressed. Actually, a lot of people get stressed from being unemployed because they have no purpose in life. With some people, you will notice immediately when they start getting stressed They will be irritable, they will lash out on people, they will start not doing what they're supposed to do. When I got sent home with stress the last time, and literally, yes, sent home, because, yay, I was fine, I met some people later and they said, oh, we couldn't tell because you had everything under control. Yes, that's my stress. I have everything under control, and I gain more and more control, or try to have it, until the day I drop dead. That's how stress works on me, where other people might drop stuff on the floor. So the main thing that happens to me is my brain feels like this. It just doesn't fit in. There's like, I have these pieces in my brain, and I know if I can just make them fit, then everything will work again. Another part is this. I get all these praise for all kinds of things, and then somewhere up there, somebody says something like, you can be a jerk sometimes, or, oh, that presentation could have been better, or I don't like the way you do your exercises. It can be tiny, tiny things. Like, one of the things we are often more, let's say, people who hurt us the most are the people who are the closest. So like, sometimes if my sister says something about my clothes, and if I'm in this mood, I will just be devastated, may never wear that clothes again. Because that's the problem, is that it sticks. And that's all that sticks. No matter how much of the good stuff you get in, all that sticks is that black stuff. So the slides will be available for you, and there are some links on it, and one of them is to a video called I Have a Black Dog, His Name is Depression. Because that's how it is. Once you had depression, there is a 60% risk that you will get it again. If you had it twice, there's a 70% risk that you'll get it again. It's like having this black dog that you need to take care of. You need to try to tame it so that you can actually live. But it's like having like this black veil over your eyes, and you cannot see what's going on, really. I would get to the point where I couldn't remember people's names. If I would take a bus, I would always have a pad of paper with me, because if I thought of something, I couldn't remember it when I left the bus. And it wasn't just that, you know, you have these times where you go like, oh yeah, that's right. It was totally gone. I couldn't even recall that I ever had that thought. And I've always been really, really good at remembering. One day I meet a friend for coffee, and there's another guy sitting next to him, and I'm like, he looks vaguely familiar, maybe we went to university, and he said hi to me, but since I'm a woman who studied computer science, people know me. There's like 100 guys and one woman, and they know who the woman is for some reason. So I'm like, yeah. We sit there, we have coffee, and I realized I worked with the guy for 2 years. I had no recollection of the guy. Then, and this was the first time I was home with stress. I was home for about 6 months. Then I started working again, you know, everything was fine. I got some antidepressives. As soon as I could, I got rid of them because, you know, it's such a failure to need medication. So I got rid of those. Got onto a new project. Had a really interesting project in IBM. I think that's the best way to describe it. Every time something went wrong, I had to report to 7 levels of managers, no matter what time of day it was. And I would protect my team because I was the Scrum Master. So I would spread out my wings and take as much as I could so that they didn't have to. I would work in the evenings because I was the only one without kids. And much of the heat that came from above, I would just take that. Because that's what you do. You're a Scrum Master, you protect your team. About October, I started having it like this. If this continues, I will literally die. And you're probably going, okay, so you probably stopped. Not really, because, you know, we had something we had to deliver. I couldn't just let my team down. So my brain started taking more and more damage. I started to forget more and more. And even now, I still haven't regained everything. And that's part of the problem with something like stress and burnout, is that it damages you. It damages you physically. So Dasha told me yesterday that she had read somewhere that, was it 70% of everyone shows physical symptoms of stress in a day. 70%. And yet we don't talk about it, we don't do anything about it. So to show a little bit about how crazy it is. So this is me thinking, okay, if I continue this, I will die. This is me getting on a new project once we finished everything else, and of course got everything as the way it was supposed to be. So this project was closed down and I went on vacation. I was going to have 2 weeks vacation because, everything was fine. And after 2 weeks, I called my manager and saying, you know what, I'm a bit tired. Can I get another week of vacation? I don't have a new project. And she goes, yes, but only if you see a doctor. I'm like, okay. I wanted to see a doctor and talk about stress. And I was like, I don't have stress. I mean, I've tried that before. So I went to a doctor and he said, the first thing we're going to do is send you home for 2 weeks. So he sent me home and then I let go. And once I let go, everything just fell apart. I couldn't remember anything. It was a good day if I could get into the couch. If I could get out of bed and into the couch, that was a good day. So I went on sick leave, and in the beginning of 2010, I started with 3 hours a week. And I told my manager, 3 hours a week? And it was so hard. And then, in March, I came back to work full-time. This is 16 months after I think I'm going to die. It took me 7 months before reacting on it. And I didn't even react before I actually was kicked home. Okay, blah, blah, this is your story, why should we care? Oh yeah, and one thing you need to know is we need to have cat pictures. You saw that in the keynote as well. One of the reasons I'm here is I've always been very open about my stress and my depressions. And I was trying to get back to work, so I would go there for lunch and stuff, and I would talk to different people. And no matter who I talked to, they have tried this. Or they knew someone who tried this. What really scared me was this one guy who said, yeah, I started crying one day in my office, but then I went home and I was fine. I'm like, no, if you start crying just out of nothing in an office, you are not fine. But we tend to not take this serious. We tend to think, oh yeah, I just need to get a grip. I just need to work a little bit more. I just need to focus a little bit more, then everything will be fine. If I just have some structure, if I just have some processes, everything will be fine. Another problem is that, again, up to 70%, I don't know why it's the same numbers, up to 70% of the Western population suffers from imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is a syndrome where you feel like you are a fake. And at some point, somebody's going to find out that you're not a real developer or a real agile coach or a real whatever. So many people have this. I just saw an interview with Liam Neeson where he goes, yeah, I'm 60. Someday somebody's going to find out that I'm actually not an action hero anymore. But until then, I'm going to keep making movies. So many people suffer from this. And one of the things that happen when you suffer from this is often people get a burnout. Some people just have like a glimpse of this and then it's gone. Some people have it over and over again. And they work really hard for no one to find out. If I just finish this next project, maybe nobody will find out that I'm actually not a proper person for this. And it's so scary to see how many smart people suffer from this. So I started talking and I kept meeting these people and nobody talked about it. I met a lot of people who talked about how busy they were. And most of them were not stressed. And then I met a lot of people who didn't talk about it. So in 2014, I decided to take a chance and start speaking about this in public. I thought that nobody would want to listen to this. And for my first talk, the room was packed. And it's been online since 2014. And at least every 2 months, somebody sends me an email going, you made me go see a doctor. That's why I talk about these things. So another thing is, there's some really scary stuff out there. I don't know if you heard about the term karoshi. This is what it means. Overworked death. So it is from Japan, and it literally means you work yourself to death. But it's also used for suicide. We are getting more and more work-related suicides. People who give up because they can't live up to the pressure. A few years ago, there was a lot of deaths in the DevOps. Young guys, 28, committing suicide because they couldn't live up to the pressure. If we look into the main cause of death for men 15 to 45, it is suicide. We made this really, really big survey in Denmark, or not survey, but experiment in Denmark, when I talked to tons of people. And the thing is that men don't talk about these things. Women are a lot better at doing it, but not good enough. And I remember reading this report, and one of the things that stood out to me was this guy who said, so he was working in a butchery, and he said, if I feel bad, I'm going to eat in the locker room, because if someone asks me how I feel, I don't want to lie. So he wouldn't even tell his workmates. I recently had a talk with a guy who had a burnout. 43. Never talked to a single person about it before me. Never talked to a single person about his feelings. The main cause of death for guys in Sweden is suicide. In Britain, and probably in other places. So we see this, that especially men do not seek help. And since I'm in an industry with most men, I meet a lot of these, and sometimes I do know people who commit suicide. Most of the time, I can poke them enough that they actually go look for help. It is really, really scary what's happening to us. And sadly, it's not just in our industry. Another thing that happens is our brain literally shrinks. So if we need to do nothing, and if we don't take the time to do nothing, the RTPJ shrinks. I even wrote it down because temporal peripheral junction, so the right temporal peripheral junction, see, I can't even pronounce it. That part of our brain physically shrinks if our brain never gets a break. When was the last time you took a break, where you didn't look at your phone or read a book or something like that? Where you just sat and was thinking about something or looked out in the air? We don't do this anymore. When we have our weekends, we have all these things we need to do. Oh, there's this new exhibition on that, or I need to read this book, or my kids need to see these things. We almost never go in and actually relax. The thing is that this RTPJ actually is the one that collects information and processes it. And it's also where innovation is. And you say, okay, what does that matter? We are not in an industry where we need innovation. Almost. We need innovation really, really badly. And what we do is we work in a way where we kill that part of our brain. Despite the fact that it also kills that part of our brain for the rest of our life and not just for work. Okay, this was supposed to be in later. So why does this happen more and more? One of the things I think is we value doing more than being. Every time you meet someone, you go, so what do you do? What is your job? What did you do on the weekend? I was just talking to Anne, who's from Australia, and she says, she met this woman from New Zealand, and they go, where are you on your journey? We don't talk about that. We don't talk about who we are. We talk so much about being. We talk so much about doing. And that means that it's just getting more and more and more. So I'd like to do an experiment also because it's after lunch. I would like all of you to stand up. Okay, so I would like you to sit down. I will finish the whole thing. If you have or you know someone with stress, burnout, depression, anxiety, or mental issues. Sit down. Look around. This is why we need to talk about it. You can sit down. This is why we need to talk about it. We almost all know someone, or we tried it. We need to start doing something about this. So some of my guesses is we have this performance culture. So I'm a consultant, started my own company in 13, and everyone says to me, oh, you're a consultant because you want to be rich. The assumption is that's why I am a consultant, because then I can make a lot of money and I can get rich. And that would be lovely. But actually, I'm a consultant so I can take time off. I'm a consultant so I get to pick where I work. As an agile coach, there's a lot of jobs out there that suck, where people basically want to get agile by magic. And that's really, really cool, but magic takes at least 6 months. If you want it to stick, probably longer, and they don't want to pay that price. I don't want to work for them. I don't want to spend my time with people who don't really want to work with what I do. Another thing is that I have not yet found out how to not get stressed. I can't stop. Which means that I drive myself really, really, really hard, and then I need breaks. So last year I was home for 4 months. And people go like, yeah, but that's a lot of money you could have made those 4 months. Yeah, but what is that money worth if I die in 2 years of a heart attack? I can't take money into the grave. Well, I can, but it's not going to help me. We need that time, and we have this performance culture. We have to reach the next thing all the time. And of course I want that too. Like, being on a big stage is really cool. I thought I would be in one of the small rooms. Or the first time someone asked me to be a keynote speaker. Stuff like that is really awesome, and it feels good. But it's not all of my life. And if I have to give that up to survive, that's what I'll do. We have too many options. Just look at how many books do you have at home that you would like to read? Most people will be like, I can't remember, there's actually a Japanese term for collecting books and not reading them. I suffer from that really badly. I'm so good at buying books. And some of them work even without reading them. I just got rid of like 20 books on how women do careers and going through the glass ceiling and stuff. Never read a single one. I have a career. So some of them do work. But that's not how books work. How many movies would you like to see? Remember when you were a kid? Well, actually I'm getting so old that you probably don't. When I was a kid, we had one TV channel. On a good day, we could take the 2 Swedish channels as well. I lived in Belgium for a while. We had 12 channels. That was crazy. Everyone would like watch the same TV series. You would come to school and people would go like, oh yeah, did you see that episode of Beverly Hills? Of course we did, because that's what was on. Now, you have Netflix with 8 trillion million series that you would like to see. So when do we take that time to not do anything? Well, I just need to binge watch this series and then maybe. I just need to see this new thing. I just need to travel. 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, we didn't travel very much. Now, we travel all the time. Okay, I speak at conferences and I work abroad, so I had 40 flights last year. That's also a little bit crazy. But we have all these options, and we want it all. Because we have this, the fear of missing out. What if I don't go to this one thing and I never have the option again? That's at least something I'm learning. When I spoke at the European Testing Conference in Helsinki, it was my first and so far only time there, I spent a full day in bed after the conference. I had planned I was going to see all kinds of stuff. Yesterday I was exhausted after giving a workshop. I stayed in bed all day, even though there was this workshop that I really, really wanted to go to. So I'm learning it slowly. It's okay to miss out on things. But it is so hard. We don't want to miss out on things. I also did a little bit of reflection about why knowledge workers are so affected. The thing is, we can never finish our job. We can never make that computer program perfect, or test every tiny little thing, or make every single team work perfectly together and be high performing. There's always something we can do. And often we think there's so many things that are important, and we need to do them. We actually like what we do. And this might sound strange, but like most people in IT have a higher education. We went to university or other higher education. If you look at maybe 50 years ago, people would kind of come in two different ways. But now most people come in because they have a higher education. And you don't get through 5 years at university if you don't like what you do. Or you're really, 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 really stubborn. Even I'm not that stubborn. I couldn't go through 5 years of computer science if I didn't love what I did. So we love what we do. It's so much easier to go home if you hate your job. If you love what you do, that's when it becomes hard. And then, as I said, we suffer from the imposter syndrome. So many of us have this imposter syndrome. On good days, I'll be like, yeah, fine. So Dasha said, are you nervous? I'm like, no, I'm not nervous. I'm just on the stage. No problem. On other days, I'll be like, fuck, why did they ask me? I don't really know anything about stress except what I read on the internet and what I've tried myself. I have those days. And then I try really, really hard to make a good talk. And we don't have any tangible work. So one of my friends recently said, maybe it's actually easier in IT because we actually make a program, we code it, and then we can see a result. But then there are also the days where we remove 1,000 lines of code. Or if you test a full day and you don't find a single bug. You have no results. I work with people. Sometimes, if I'm lucky, I will get a result 2 years later. Most of the time, people don't tell me. So my friend Cosima is here, and she lives in the area where I used to work, and she came to me one day and said, I was at this meetup, and people were talking about how well you did the retrospectives. And not a single one of them told me. We have so many things that's not tangible, and we don't often get that feedback. That's another thing. We don't know how to communicate. We can use protocols, like proper protocols, but can we talk to people? Can we give them feedback? Mostly not, because we don't learn how. So that means that often we don't get the results of what we do. And we don't have any natural limits. We don't leave our hammer at work and then go home. Our hammer's up here. We have it with us all the time. And it goes chitter-chatter, 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 chitter-chatter. All the time. It thinks all the time. So you ask yourself, what can I do? Well, there's a lot of stuff you can do to prevent it. I even tried some of it. Say no. Ooh, this is hard. Now comes the even harder one. Say no to stuff you already agreed to. If you feel like this is really, really hard, and you can't do it, say no. I still need to learn this. This is gonna sound weird. What I do if I have to say no to something is I call a friend and ask for permission. So first time I had to say no to a conference because I was literally breaking down. And the conference was in 2 months, they had plenty of time to find a new speaker, and there were people in line. And still I was like, yeah, but I promised I would talk. So I called my friend Torbjørn and I say, please give me permission to say no. And logically I know he has no ruling over me, he has nothing, but I need that permission. I can't just do that because I promised. I use this when I coach people. They ask me for permission to take a break. And if that is what you need, that's what you need. Hopefully at some point I'll learn to do it on my own, but right now I can't. Plan preparation time. Yeah, I need to do that one day. Actually, that's also one of the things. Oh yeah, I can do that talk. Oh, by the way, I need to plan the talk, I need to make some slides, I need to, oh shit. All these things, plan preparation time. Maybe even book it in your calendar. Take a walk. Relax your brain. Or rather, I don't know if any of you were at the meetup with Linda Risings. He talks about system 1 and system 2. So system 2 is our conscious mind. That's the one we want to relax. That's one of the things I was told at the doctor when I had stress was, well, first I went to this psychotherapist who said, like, you have to be in your body. And I just looked at him and like, I am in my body. What are you talking about? Then I went to my doctor and he said, no, I want you to get out of your head. That's what he meant. He meant you need to get out of your head. Because our system 2 brain is a chitter-chatter. And the reason I use this is because I saw this really cool video with this monk who talks about a monkey brain. And it goes chitter-chatter, chitter-chatter, chitter-chatter. And what we need to do is to distract our monkey brain. Because that way, we get to relax our head. We can do meditation. I tried a lot of times, and what I would really love to say is that every morning I sit down for 15 minutes, I do meditation. I bought a meditation pillow and some meditation CDs. But what I managed to do is the 1-minute meditation. So if you are in line somewhere, so instead of getting upset that you're in line, just focus on your breath. Feel how you breathe in. Feel how it goes all the way down to your stomach. And once you do that, you distract your brain. It goes like, ooh, this is interesting. I'll just look at this, how we breathe. And then it doesn't go chitter-chatter. It's about distracting your brain. Same if you want to bring focus to your body. If you close your eyes right now, try to feel the chair. Try to feel where it actually touches your body. Try to feel where your feet are. Where's the weight? If you have one leg across from the other, where does it touch the other one? That's how we get into our body, by creating focus to that. And that's what we can do for meditation. You can open your eyes again. Another thing is mindfulness. And some people say, isn't that the same? But mindfulness is about being more aware of what we do. Taking the time to actually taste our food. How many times do you eat food in front of a screen or something you read, where you actually don't taste what you're eating? Way, way, way too often. I do it sometimes. I will still do this where I go like, yeah, I just need something to eat, and I just want it to be sort of okay, and that's fine. But other times what I try doing is putting down my book. So when the food comes, I put down the book and my computer, whatever I have with me, and I eat. I just sit there and actually taste the food. Taste the cold water. Part like that can help your brain relax. And then exercise is also really good, except if you are really, really stressed or really, really depressed, because what happens then is you get really annoyed that you can't do it, and then when you can't do it, you get more stressed. But otherwise, exercise is really, really good for us. It's good for our brain and it's good for our body. Asking for help. We suck at this. When I go out and help people with Scrum, they have their daily questions like, what did you do yesterday? What am I going to do today? Do I have any problems? Do I have any impediments? People suck at this. They don't really want to admit that. But asking for help is one of the most important things we can do. And take time off. A lot of people say, yeah, but I can't take time off. I can't take a month off. No, what you actually mean is, I can't take a month off and have exactly the same things that I have now. Maybe that means that you can't buy your latte every day, or maybe it means that you can't go on this one vacation. But you are actually able to take time off, if not a month, maybe a day or two, and do a bit of nothing. So how to help others? First, the don'ts. Please don't say, pull yourself together. These are things that we tell ourselves. Oh, many people are worse off than you. Yeah, thank you. So now you're not only saying that I should just pull myself together, but I should actually feel bad because I feel bad. You have no reason to be depressed, stressed, have anxiety. I know. It's all in your head. Yes, it is all in my head. And it would be so much easier if I just broke an arm. They put cast on it. You can see I'm sick, I can see I'm sick. But it's in my head. It's not visible. We can't see it. Except that everything is actually in our head because pain comes from the head. Actually, your arm is not hurting. Your brain sends out signals that it's hurting. Don't ignore them. Involve them in the stuff that you're doing. And don't give unfunded advice. You know what? If you just go on this diet, you will not be depressed anymore. If you just do this or that, it's okay to say, you know what, I tried these things and it's okay. But let them get some professional help, because most of this time we don't know what we're doing. Offer your help, but do it subtle. Saying, hey, you look a little bit down, you want to go for a walk? 2 in 1. Someone listens to them, and they get exercise. Listen. Grow your ears and open your heart. We are really, really bad at listening to each other. And also because, what do we do at work? We solve problems. That's what we do. So someone comes to you and says, I'm feeling bad. You go like, ooh, I'm going to solve this. No. Listen to them. Often, that's all they need. Tell them to go see a professional. Maybe even take them by the hand and go there. The first time I went to a psychiatrist, my friend literally took me by the hand and said, you're going to get help now. I hated it. I hated that I needed help. I hated that he gave me pills, because for the first time in my life, I was weak. Now I know that it was because I've been strong for 35 years, and I just broke at the end. But sometimes you need someone to take you. Respect what they feel. If they feel sad one day, if they feel happy one day, oh, you can't be depressed, you just laughed. Yes, we can laugh even though we're depressed. We can laugh even though we're stressed. So respect what they feel. Include people. Of course, that's the opposite of ignoring. That's the opposite of ignoring them. And care. Doesn't mean that you have to go hug each other, even though that would of course be nice if people like it. Be aware, not all people like to hug. So that's one thing I'm very aware of. That's why I also offer non-physical hugs. But a good team actually care for each other. I just came from Gitte Klitgaard's talk about high-performing teams, and one of the things is they care for each other. You can call it love, you can call it friendship, you can call it whatever. A good team cares for each other. We don't like to call it love because that's too soft and mushy, but that's basically what it is. You probably know Eeyore, or as we say in Danish, æseldyret. He's always depressed, and yet they always include him. They always respect how he feels. On his birthday, he thought that they almost forgot him, but then they show up anyway. And for a moment, he was almost happy. Please include the Eeyores in your things, because they need that as well, even though they may look like they're just sad. So wrap up. Talk about these things. We need to talk about these things. If we don't talk about them, who's going to talk about them? If we don't talk about them, it becomes this invisible disease that kills us bit by bit. Ask for help. I'll say it again. Ask for help. It is so hard. I'm getting really good at asking for help when I really need it. I'm still working on asking for help when I don't totally need it. Like, if somebody offers to carry my bag, I'm sometimes actually saying yes. Because I've been brought up with, if you can do it yourself, don't get help. It is really hard to accept help if you can do it yourself. But practice it. Offer help to people. And there's a reason it says offer and not give, because it's up to them to take it. You cannot force them to take help, but you can offer it. Talk to each other, or rather with each other. Start talking about these things. Start talking about maybe how you feel in your teams. Ask someone, how are you doing? And care. Those are the main things. And they are so simple, and yet they are so hard. If you want to talk about it and you don't feel comfortable here, that's all my contact information. I will also send the slides to someone so they can put it up, so you can take that. And I have a lot of links. You can hear the Living with a Black Dog is about depression. And you probably don't know Will Wheaton, or maybe you do, from Star Trek. He has depression. He didn't know. He wrote a really good blog post recently about how it felt when he was growing up and how people are pushing him, and they didn't know so anything was wrong. And includes a collaboration in case you want to work with that. So, wrong button. This is, la 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 la. We just have a break? No, we don't. I'm always good with these breaks. Just pretend that you can't see what's on. Here we go. Yeah, I'm a geek, I like Yoda. So, read these things, do these things, and take care of each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. This was really intense. I think we all have some work to do. Cancel one appointment today, the one that you were like, I don't really want to go, but I have to, you know. I believe we do have some questions. Let's start with the top.
How to start recovery when burnout began? Who to talk to, who to ask for help? Someone you trust. It can be someone from your family, it can be a friend, it can be a doctor. The point is to find someone you talk to. Sometimes it can feel more comfortable to talk to a doctor or a therapist because they don't have a stake in what you do. So that can feel more comfortable. The most important thing is to talk to someone. If you feel like you're approaching a burnout, or if you have already a burnout, start taking care of yourself. Start sleeping. Start resting. Start drinking a lot of water. Go for a walk, look at nature, start doing these things. And every single small thing is a success. It doesn't have to be big things. If you can just get outside the door one day and go to the end of the block and back, that's a start. And ask for help. Often you will have this one friend that will help you with something. Ask that friend, ask the one at work and say, you know what? Would you help me, remind me to drink more water, and maybe go for a walk with me at lunch? You don't have to tell them why. The most important thing is that it's someone you trust. How do you think we can avoid feeling like an imposter? Most of the time, we can't. But there's a lot of things you can do. You can actually realize that the reason you are an imposter is because you're smart. Only smart people suffer from the imposter syndrome. You can realize that you will never learn everything. You can realize that you work with your passion, and the reason you feel inadequate is because you keep learning, and that's a good thing. It takes a long time. If you search for it, I have a talk on imposter syndrome, just by coincidence. And at the end, there is a section called, What's So Good About the Imposter Syndrome? Because part of it is that, yes, we live in exciting times, we have so much we can learn, and we are really smart people, and that's why we suffer from it. And once we start realizing that, and once we start using some techniques to integrate our successes, that's when we can start fighting the imposter syndrome. So what do you tell to someone if you think they are close to a burnout? I would say to them, if there's a concrete symptom, like they keep forgetting to do something, I would mention that and say, hey, I see you keep forgetting these things. Is there something we should talk about? Do you want to go for a walk? Coffee and walk is a good way. If you give someone coffee, it goes back to when we were like on the plains and hunting animals. If we eat with someone, we feel safe enough to trust them, which means that if you drink coffee with someone, your brain goes, oh, I'm eating with this person, so he must be from my tribe or a tribe that's friendly to us. If you take a cup of coffee with someone saying, hey, you just look like you've been a bit too busy. Is there anything I can help you with? And if it's really, really bad, talk to someone who can kick them home, like their manager or their wife, slash partner. That's what I would do at least. But often just saying, hey, how are you? Want to go for coffee? Feel free to find me. I know there's a lot of people, but I think I'm the only one with really blue and pink hair. So feel free to come up and talk to me. And thank you for listening.